Today I'm going to be sharing some information on my book, and which is mostly about community colleges and resilience. And so I just want to share that this photo here is of a local community. It's right here in the west side. It's called Casitas. And this is where I want to move when I'm rich and famous. So anyways, and so I just want to share that a lot of the photos that you will be seeing, I've taken them. So it's one of the things that are helping me to become more resilient, and I'll share more about this later. So that's what the photo is. So let's go ahead and continue. All right, so there's the book. So now, so resilience, the way that I define resilience is that it's the ability to overcome obstacles and become better. And then of course the scientific definition is that it's a dynamic construct that offers explanations for how people adapt and endure the context of adversity. And so resilience, it's a really great topic, and it's something that I've been learning and writing about for the past 10 to 15 years. And so anyway, so I hope that you find the information interesting. And so one of the things that I do in my book, which is based on four studies overall, and it took me, I would say, maybe about 10 years or so. But one of the things that I do is I interview students and professors. And so I would like to share with you a story of one of my students, and her name is Amanda. And I first met Amanda when she was 17 years old. And so she was in my class, and I was very impressed with her because she came across as very eager and just very energetic and a very, very worker. But after talking to her, one of the things that I discovered is that she was the oldest in her family, had three siblings, and the first person to attend college. And so as the semester progressed, she was also telling me about how she had to work. She was working at a restaurant, and how it was very difficult for her to keep up with her studies because she had to do all of this. And so that she had mentioned to her mom that was it. She was gonna drop out of EPCC. And deep down, I'm like, my heart is beating, and I'm like, no. but but anyways, but I'm listening, right? So I'm trying to stay very cool, calm, and collected. And but then her mom, I said, no, mija, you have to study. She said, you have to be someone para que no cualquiera te pueda humillar, so that people cannot treat you in degrading ways, is what her mom told her. And she gave her other wonderful consejos. And so she says that after doing this, she kind of thought about it. And then her and I worked together on having her apply for scholarships. And so I helped her with an essay, and she got a scholarship. And this was and I wanted, I guess, to introduce her to this idea that of social capital, really, and that there are other ways, to get money, and it's not just through hard work, but that you have scholarships and all of these amazing things. And so would you like to know what happened to Amanda? Mia, give me a thumbs up. Yes, okay. Thank you. So this is what happened to Amanda. Okay, so Amanda graduated. Thank you. Yes, that's awesome. Thank you so much. So Amanda graduated from EPCC with honors. She transferred to New Mexico State and received a bachelor's. And later she went to UTEP and became a counselor like me. and and um, and now she owns one of the largest counseling agencies in El Paso. She hires lots of therapists. And I get emotional, sorry, because I'm really, really proud of her. but now she's hiring, training, and also, but she really loves being a therapist. And so again, this is the reason why I love to teach at EPCC, right? So and so just I'll come back to this one, but this is why I call community colleges gardens of possibility, right? Because we have so many students like Amanda, right? But what I want to also emphasize that sometimes I think gets left out of the research, thank you, out of the research is how important family is, consejos, dichos, stories of survival, right? And so I call these pedagogies of survival, and they play a huge role in our resilience. And so what I want you to do is this. So this is me and my family. So I want you to think, let me see. I want you to think of, actually, you know what? I want you to think, we'll come back to this, but I want you to think of were there consejos or stories or dichos, that ring in your head or your heart, that help you to become resilient and to be motivated. Okay, and then we'll come back to that. Now let me just give you some brief background. So resilience comes from the field of positive psychology, and what I really like about positive psychology is that it's very different than traditional psychology. And so the focus is on well-being, success, and resilience. And this is also where you see a lot of like the gratitude and all of these wonderful things come from this field. And so I became really, really fascinated. And of course, the one of the things with research too is that there's always a personal connection, and so for me, the personal connection was also my family. And so let me see. Let me go back just a little bit to going back to my family. I just wanted to share that right here in this picture, you see my abuelita Chepa, okay? And so my abuelita Chepa and my grandfather, and so they lived in Northeast, which goes to Rosales. And what happened is that when my grandfather Miguel was about 30 years old, he had a stroke. And so then my grandmother had a very, very difficult time there. And so, but she did the best that she could. And so then my grandmother would send my mom, um, who you see on this picture at the bottom, and she would send her to actually beg for food. And so my mother was a beggar very early on. And the reason my grandmother chose her is because she was the most attractive child. And so people were more likely to fill up, her container. She used to use a olla de peltre, and then would just go house to house, and that's how they would survive. But then what happened is that, so my great grandmother Toña then raised or used her savings to bring my grandmother Chepa over to Juarez, and eventually got her a pasaporte local, and that's how so then she would cross over, my abuelita Chepa, and she was a maid, and that's how we survived growing up. And so anyways, and so that's how I became interested in resilience, because I thought, wow, like all these students that I meet, all these professors that I meet, we have so much in common. And so then after I started to learn and research about it, then I realized, wow, we really do have a lot of resilience. And so I discovered through research and through lots of qualitative research that resilient people have these personal strengths, right? And so they call them protective factors, but I think it sounds too scientific for me. And so I call them personal strengths. And so these are powerful self problem solving, people skills, and purpose. All right. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to explain what some of these are, and then offer some suggestions and talk about some of the ways that I incorporate this in my classroom. And so what I want to do in terms of the powerful self, one of the things that Albert Bandura talks about is self-efficacy. And he says that self-efficacy is grows from vicarious experience or stories of others. And so I thought, wow, this is fascinating. So it's not just stories of us, but also stories of others. Okay. And so here are some more photos. And so what I want you to think, just again, this is just to ponder, is to think of a time in your life when you felt like you failed but managed to succeed, right? And also, how did you do it? And then also think about a student who you had in your class who succeeded and how they did it. And oftentimes too, I love to share these students with these stories with my students, because again, I think it makes us more humble, and then they kind of see, oh, you know what, we have a lot in common, right? And so that's the beauty of it. All right, so nature is also very much connected to resilience. And so going back to the pandemic, one of the things that again that we all experienced was isolation, right? And so for those of you who know me, you know that I'm very social. I'm a social butterfly. And so I get energy from people. I love people. And so I thought I was gonna die basically during the pandemic. So then what I decided, okay, you're resilient, right? You have to survive this. And so I decided to take my camera and my phone and just to go out and take photos. And so I would go to all of our beautiful places in El Paso. I never knew how gorgeous El Paso is. And so I went to UTEP. So this picture here is from UTEP, the one here in the fall. And then I went to Mesilla, the one with the sunflowers. And then this is at the Coronado Country Club. So I would just go to all of these places and I would take photos. And then I would also see other people that were there. And then I felt this sense of universality, which is like, okay, I'm not the only one going through this. And so then during this time too, I would take the opportunity to write little quotes, little poems, and then attach them to the pictures. And in order for me to connect to my students, I would and I still do it. I post these online, and then I do a poem and photo of the week, and then I ask students to send me their photos. And if they write poetry, I also post it on there. Oh, thank you, Paul. Thank you. Oh, thank you. You all are so beautiful. And so anyways, and so this is one way that I incorporate nature into the classroom, because I feel like it saved me. And the other thing too that you all might want to try is in one of the, I posted as a discussion, but I asked my students to tell me how they survived the pandemic or how they survived difficult things. And I tell them to take a picture for 5 days and then to tell me in each photo, I am grateful for, and then, like for, my cup of coffee because it, gives me energy or whatever, to choose 5 things that help them to survive. And it is so beautiful to grade. So they send me either a PDF file or a PowerPoint, and it's 5 slides. And I get to know them at a very, very personal level, because I get to see photos of their family, of their dogs, their cats, a lot of nature stuff as well. And so I strongly recommend that you incorporate gratitude into your classroom, because it helps them. And it also helps me as a professor, because like I said, if you ask them to share this, they're really not going to tell you all this unless you do it in I would say like this is a different format of getting to know them and for them to know you as well. So anyway, so that's just an example there. All right. The other part of becoming resilient too is encouraging and helping our students to become even stronger problem solvers and critical thinkers. And so in one of my chapters is titled Teaching con Respeto, because this is what we do. When we bring their experience, we are teaching them with respeto, right? Giving them the respect that they deserve. And so So this is a quote from the book. It says, personal experience can be the thread that draws the mind, body, and soul together. And so this is what we do when we bring their experience in any way, shape, or form into the classroom. It's empowering for them. And so what I like to think of is, and I hope you see yourself this way as well, but I really like to see myself as like a more like a sculptor, right? And that really we're just there to help them discover who they are. And Michelangelo says, I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free. And so again, when we do this, we're bringing in what Mal Amante, Neff, and Gonzalez call funds of knowledge. Okay, and we have all this beautiful knowledge, and this is what we do when we carve, help the students, or bring their experience into the classroom. And I want to share one more activity that I also do post as a discussion. And so who can tell me what Maslow's hierarchy of needs is about? Can you put it in the chat? So what is when Maslow talks about his pyramid? What is he? Tell me what it means. What is Maslow's hierarchy of needs or theory of self-actualization? Can anybody tell me? You can just type it, or you can also unmute your mic if you want to speak, and also feel free to open up your cameras as well. So what do you think? Yes, very good, Anna. Yes, that we have these basic needs. Yes, overcoming basic needs. Yes, absolutely. Yes, that we go through this chart, right? And that eventually. Okay, awesome. Yes. And so we have to have all these needs met, and then so that is, and we have to be consistent about it, right? And then eventually our goal is to become self-actualized. Okay. And so I just and so one of the things that I do is I ask them to introduce themselves in the discussion and tell us about their goals. And then I also ask them to describe someone who they believe is self-actualized. And a lot of the time they talk about their abuelitas, their moms, their tias, their abuelos, and I learned so many beautiful things. Also, yes, yes, we are born to become our best. Absolutely. And then I also ask them to, once they tell me who they chose and why, I also tell them to apply this to your own growth and to your own goals, right? And again, it's very rich and very wonderful to read about their history, their family, and it's just a wonderful activity, I think. All right, and then here's just another activity, but we'll skip through this. Okay, so now we also have the next thing that I want to talk about, or strength, is people skills. And so one of the beautiful things about resilience is that there's a universal finding that we just need one caring person in our life for us to become resilient, and that's very, very universal. And when I read that, I was like, wow, this is so beautiful. And then as I kept reading more and more, I discovered that these people that usually help us to become resilient tend to be warm demanders. And this is from a Black feminist who I adore. Her name is Lisa Delpit. And she says that in order for us to be great mentors, teachers, that we need to be caring and provide a stimulating environment, but we have to have high expectations, right? And so a lot of the professors that I interviewed for the book were very warm demanders, and I learned so much from them. And so then I was like, okay, so who is the caring person in my life? And so then what I discovered is I actually have a resilience team, right? And most of us do. And so what I want you to do is think of who this person is for you, and think of, or maybe you might have more. But one of the activities too that is very good to do is to write a letter of gratitude and thank the person, for all the different things that they did. And I call this noticing. So noticing in counseling or psychology is just noticing all the positive and beautiful things that this person did for you. And sometimes too, they can be tough because like my tia here, this is my tia Andrea here at the top, and she's a warm demander, but she's tough. she's very loving, but she expects a lot. Like, she's very conscientious, and so I learned a lot of beautiful things from her. So then I want you, and this is my mom here in the corner, and this is my abuelita Chepa again. So this is my resilience team, and I want you to think of your team. So who were the nurturers, the wise figures, the spiritual figures, okay? And the way that I use this is in my life is I always say, okay, when I get into problems or I'm trying to decide something or I'm going to do something really stupid, honestly, I say, okay, so if my tia was here, what would she say? Like, would she be okay with me doing this? And a lot of times it's like, no, so cut it out, right? So use them as a guide. So anyways, all right. So, and then thanks, Liz. So anyway, so then, and then the last protective factor is purpose, right? And I don't know, I just feel like purpose brings everything together. And we all find purpose in a different way, right? And in a minute, I'm going to share one activity that I use, but there are so many ways to do it. And so one of the things that I discovered is that my purpose came through this 20 pesos. And in Professor Yasmin's class, we wrote we wrote a story, and I chose this as a story. She was my professor, and I consider her my mentor. And so this the way that this happened is thank you. When I was a kid, I think I was about 5 or 7 years old, my cousins and I were out digging. This is in Zaragoza, in my grandma's neighborhood. So we were digging and digging, and all of a sudden we were just playing and making, uh, a trench, I believe. And so when I was digging, I discovered like this little red, and I was like, oh my God. So I kept digging and digging and digging. All of a sudden, I pulled this veinte, and I'm like, oh my God. Like I was just super excited. And the reason I was so excited is because my grandma we were still having difficulty, surviving, and sometimes we didn't really have money for meals. And so I was like, oh my God. So I ran over, I took the veinte, rolled it, and ran over into my abuelita's house, opened the door, and there's my abuelita, smoking a faro, a cigarette. And I said, abuelita, abuelita, look. I said, I found this veinte, and it's for you. I was just super, super excited. And, my abuelita she smiles and she says, because she doesn't smile very much. So I guess she kind of grinned and she says, "Ay," she says, "gracias a Dios." So then she sent me to the store, and I bought sopa and tomato and onion, and then she made sopa for everybody. But then the reason why I said that I discover my purpose is because I thought, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to study. I need to go to school. I need to do all of this because I'm going to help my grandma to have a better life. And then after that, that just became my purpose, and that's why I'm here. And so anyway, so I just wanted to share that story with you because again, our purpose is to lift as we climb, right? And that's what we do. And I think that's what Pasos is all about too, is to lift as we climb. And so this is just briefly, this is an activity that I also share with my students. And so I ask them, so where do you see yourself 10 years from now? And so I would like for you to ask yourself the same thing in terms of family, finances, fitness, goals, anything, spirituality, relationships, love, anything. And so we write about it. We write a lot in my class because I'm a writer, and I think that that's a wonderful way to become aware and reflect. And then I ask them, okay, so how connected do you feel to your future self? And I ask them to choose from here. And I also explain to them that the more connected they feel to their future self, the more motivated and resilient they're going to become, because they're going to be able to do the things necessary to get there. Okay, so all right. And then I just want to briefly talk about one of the professors. So at the beginning, I mentioned my student Amanda, and this was very difficult, by the way, when I chose the professors for the book. I had more than 200 um, surveys, and it was such a difficult, because we have amazing professors at EPCC, but Professor Richard Yanez stood out from them, and so as you know, he's one of the coordinators for Pasos, and he's a wonderful writer as well. And so one of the things that I did is I interviewed his students and just learned like what an amazing impact he was making in the classroom. And then one of the students, Dante, even said that he says that after reading Professor Yanez's book, he said, "Wow, I have lived in and visited a lot of places." He is describing, I feel proud. of being from El Paso because someone is actually writing about my city. So anyway, so you'll find in my book, you'll find these stories and many other very, very beautiful stories. So thank you, Professor Yanez, for allowing me to enter your classroom and learn so much about you and your students. And so remember to honor other stories. We need to honor our own. And this is Pat Mora, right? And so I want to leave you with this question. So what is your story? And then lastly, I want to end this presentation by dedicating this poem to Professor Ramirez. So Yasmin Ramirez, and I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for always being a warm demander and pushing me even when I don't want to be pushed. So thank you. You're amazing. So let me read this for you. So it says, this. Okay. So on days when I didn't believe in myself, it was teachers like you who watered my body, nourished my soul, and set my mind free until I found the resilient me.